Just what advice would you give to your younger self? It's a question I put to some of my favourite entrepreneurs.
So if you could go back to 23-year-old Tom when you set up the business and pass on one piece of advice based on what you've learned now, what piece of advice would you give?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very simple. It's learn by doing. I see so many people starting a business and a business plan. Oh, and the business plan's everything. And the last sale of the spreadsheet has got, oh, and this. And especially coming out of university. And then I'll say, you know, have you spoken to a customer? And oh no, we're just getting the business. I said, no, but pick up the phone to a customer. Find out if they're going to buy what you're selling. It's quite important. And if they're not, you've got to rethink it. And we see hundreds of business plans every year through West Coast Capital, and not one of them has ever done what it said it would do. Every profit and loss goes right to left, upward only, nice and steady. You know, sales lines are up, down, back. Whoa, whoa. This is a roller coaster. It's not a nice curve that just goes like this. So, of course you need a plan that kind of lays it out, but you don't need a 50-page plan. Give me a one-pager, because it's probably not going to happen that way anyway. But I'm looking into your eyes to see, are you the sort of person who can deal with the challenges as they come your way and go, right, that didn't work, but we're over here now, and oh, right, you know. Because when we invest now, we're all about the founder. Regardless of sector, it's all about the founder.
If you could go back to George in 2011, what one bit of advice would you give him based on what you've learned in the journey over the last few years?
Don't take people at face value when they say they can do something. You know, I've met a lot of yes people. Yeah, we can do that. We can do that. Yeah, that's fine. We can do that, and they can't. And I think that. I mean, look. I think I probably learned that before anyhow. I don't think it took me to my 30s to learn that. But there's a lot of people in this industry that for whatever reason just think they can help you one way or another with your production, and if you really want something doing properly, you got to just roll your sleeves up and do it yourself. I think the other thing I would say is be prepared to say no a lot. I think you have to stay focused on what you're doing, and there's opportunities that come your way which may seem great, but in actual fact, again, it can be a distraction. So learning to say no is sort of counterintuitive, really, but it's just as important as knowing when to say yes.
So if there was a 15-year-old Tanisha 2.0 growing up in Missouri today, in the same situation, in the same small town, what advice would you give her?
I would say, I would tell her not to compromise and to stay the course on being herself, because despite my mother's advice and a lot of people's advice, I have always chosen to be who I am, and adamantly chosen that, and it's worked out really, really well. But it's scary when you don't fit in and you're getting made fun of and you feel alone to be committed to that, but I'm really glad I did.
So if you could go back to Will in his 20s in 2009 and give him one piece of advice.
Oh, that's a good one.
Based on what you know today, what would you tell Will in 2009?
Oh, yeah, that's great. So many things. But if I had to settle down to one, you know, I think the thing that really springs to mind is take things less personally. And sometimes I sort of, I just stress myself out in ways I didn't need to, and you just take a step back and say, look, this person isn't out to get you. Like, this person, doesn't have a problem with Will Dean. This person is just trying to do their job. The number of times I've had to go to the Canadian border to get a shipment back into the US because apparently somewhere in one of my trucks is a first aid kit with 2 Tylenols in there. There are these very strict rules about importing medicines from Canada into the US. And it's so easy to just think, why is this person just I've literally flown to Toronto, driven for 3 hours, had an hour-long lecture, signed some piece of paper, and then we're all kind of wagons roll again. And things like that, back in the day, I'd have been like, why is this person being such an ass. And these days I just say, okay, just the way, don't waste emotional energy on this, which probably makes me a happier, healthier person.